I don't even really like praise. I don't even like hearing people say, "Oh, you should be proud of yourself," or that's something to be proud of, or telling me, "Wow, that's so cool." I really find that that detracts from my overall experience because I want to do it for me, and I do it so that I can uh, feel better physically, but also feel better mentally, pushing myself.
Can you state your name, your occupation?
Don Colley, teaching associate at San Diego State University, PhD in geography. I run for a lot of reasons, I guess, but I don't really have a particular like mindset involved in it. I think it's mostly about running from sort of internal problems or trying to run through things I need to think about, and trying to like I guess self motivate to keep the rest of my track on life. Uh, um, because I have a pretty bad at falling off the wagon and getting like behind in a lot of things, and I think that being forced to stay on a schedule with running is the sort of good motivational technique to keep intact with everything else. When I start out running, sometimes I don't really want to be running. I kind of go out and my legs hurt, and I'm doing this thing. And I know I have to do the same route or the same number of miles with the same type of runner, and I get really like bored and disinterested immediately. And so I start thinking to myself, what is it that I'm going to do? Why am I doing this run? And then I think the motivation comes in that like halfway through the run, I'm thinking about everything else that's going on in my life and how running, isn't taking up that much time. So I've got this like hour to myself to think about everything else going on in my life, and the motivation there is essentially that I've got the opportunity to sort of work out problems that I don't have time for elsewhere. So when you're sitting and reading a book or you're writing a paper and you get writer's block, you don't really have a lot of time to deal with stuff because you're constantly pressuring yourself. And so running becomes meditative in a way because it allows you to think about those problems while still doing something else. So you're running and you're thinking, when in other events, thinking is what gets in the way of you accomplishing something. The first time I ever did a long run, I ran an out to Santee, and I didn't really know much about doing long runs, and so I actually hit the physical wall that runners talk about, where you just can't make yourself go anymore. And somehow I was able to get through it. But when I finished the run, I don't know if anybody wants to hear this, but I ended up urinating blood because I had no idea like that I needed to hydrate better. So physically, I hit a wall there, and mentally, it scared me from ever wanting to do a long run again. But I had to go out and do it one more time, so I did it, and then I think I broke through the mental wall of trying to do long runs. And then same thing by doing a half marathon in November, training for that. Once I got through that, I didn't do as well as I wanted to the first time. But then the second time I did a half marathon, I was able to do it at a pace that I could run because I had broken through this fear of what it is.
Sometimes I'm not very good about it. Sometimes I just give up and take a week off. But I think that that's probably a good mental thing because it lets me work it out. But when I'm really not feeling it, I sort of just yell at myself for a long time and then kind of like just tell myself to do it. And then once I'm out there, it's like, the best thing ever. And I just keep doing it again and again. If I'm tired during the run, that's pretty hard. But I think the thing that I really try to do is try to make it more fun. I try to do inventive things. So I get really sick of running the same routes because I run primarily outside. So I run over and over again these same routes. And what I've done is I sort of invent like new places to go. So I try to look for a street I've never run on before, or if I'm like running slow, I'll try to make myself run up a hill because then by the time I get to the top of the hill, I've worked out and sort of gotten a good emotionality going. But during a race, I have a lot of self-talk, a lot of like, we'll just keep this pace up, just keep this pace up for a little bit longer. Okay, focus on this, and then I start to observe things going around. And I think also being a geographer, running is a really like sort of like an academic thing for me. It's about thinking about the world that I'm running through and the people I'm running around. So it tends to just sort of be a mixture of the environment and what I'm thinking about in my own life. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. I think the best time to get a runner's high is when I'm running hills. I really, really like running hills, and when the harder it is, the more I get out of it.
the start of the end of the world, but it's feeling just like every other morning before. Now I wonder what my life is gonna mean if it's gone. The cars are moving like a half a mile an hour, and I started staring at the passengers and waving goodbye. Can you tell me what was ever really special about me all this time?